Here.
Here. Okay. Hi, Angela.
Hi, Mary Elizabeth. How are you?
So good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing all right with the snow.
Stopped. So, John, what do you think? What I proposed?
Oh. Say a little more about it. I'm not.
Okay. Is your microphone on?
It is, I believe. Are you hearing the amplified voice?
Yeah.
Does it need to be on?
I mean, not yet, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um. Yeah, I have expressed, interest. I would open up space.
Glad to have you. We have less than a minute, so I'll let. Okay, Commission Chair Kress, it is 3:30 p.m. We are live streaming and recording now and ready to go.
Okay, thank you. I will, call to order the, Advisory Commission meeting. This is a hybrid, first. Meeting, so, okay, we'll, clerk, call the roll.
Yes, sir. Commission Member Larson asked for an excused absence. Commission Member Kress,
Here.
you turn on your mic.
Okay, are you hearing me now?
Yes, sir. Commission Member Gomez,
Here.
Commission Member Riggle, here. Commission Member Williams,
Here.
we do have a quorum.
Okay, after staff presentations, an item, just a discussion protocol here. Chair will request comments from each member after each member's had an opportunity. The chair wants to speak, the opportunity to do that. Members, raise your hand either here in the physical virtual screen And please wait to be recognized by the chair, for, in speaking. I think that'll help facilitate, discussion. Everybody feel like what needs to be said. We will, start the meeting with public comments. Did anyone submit a comment in advance?
No, sir.
All right. Anyone actual or virtual? I don't see anybody seated in the chamber today. Anybody virtually is tuned in, wishes to speak, please raise your hand. Be recognized.
Nobody.
Virtual hand. Don't see any, so we will move then to the consent agenda. Are there any items that anyone wishes to have removed from the consent agenda? Not hearing any of those, do we have then a motion to approve consent agenda? It's been moved. Is there a second? Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. We will move to staff reports. Presentations. The first one is item 3.01 comprehensive safety action update.
Same thing, but yeah, you're right. Same thing, but you're right.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah. We will then, I think we'll hear more about that. Is that where we are right now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, let's have that report. Please.
Spencer, can you hear us?
Yeah, this is Spencer. I tried to share my screen.
Oh.
Or do you have the presentation up? That works too.
I do, but let me see if I can have you share your screen. Can you do it now?
I think so. Do you see the lead slide there?
Yeah.
Okay. So my name is Spencer Montgomery. I'm with JUB Engineers. I've presented to the UTAC a couple of times. I have with me today Angela Singleton, who is a member of our Langdon group. They are public involvement specialists, and she's been helping with the public involvement aspects. And I wanted her to give her a chance to give an update on all the responses that we received through the survey that we had and the other events. So I'm gonna turn time over to Angela.
Okay, thanks, Spencer. Go ahead and next slide there. And yep, those are our pretty faces right there. And in addition to Justin, who's our gateway mapping and GIS specialist. Go ahead and next slide. Okay, so this is just a high level overview of the public involvement. So just a reminder of the goals here were to provide information to the public on the safety action plan process timeline and provide them opportunities to give us feedback. So these tasks here on the slides were selected to support the goals. And I'll go through each one of these tasks in later slides. So next slide, Spencer. So this here is an example of one of our many social media posts. This is English and Spanish version. We posted them together. And this was to provide relevant information, promote the survey, and keep the project interesting. These got really good feedback on the social media. So that's just an example of the way that we were interacting with the diverse community that lives here. Next slide, Spencer. Yep. And then this here is a informational flyer that we created. This flyer had information about the goals of the project, the timeline, our contact information, and then the QR code is a link to the project website, and the project website held the survey as well. This was shared on social media and a physical copy as well. Yeah, you can go to the next slide, Spencer. So an example of in-person event that we attended was the farmers market in September. This was a drop-in style vendor tabling event. We were able to interact with people in a different way, casual, and we got their feedback here on their transportation priorities. And that's another example here of a social media post that was also shared in the city's newsletter. And that's Spencer and Hannah there at the farmers market trying to get some shade. Next slide. Sweet. Okay. And then this slide here is a screenshot from the project website. This is viewable today, but this screenshot here is of the comment map. And so I really wanted to highlight the diversity of comments that we received and how many comments. There's 415 total comments, and there's 8 different comment categories. So that's what the different circles and icons and colors mean. And as you can see, there's comments all over the city. And so people were able to go to our project website and see the 2 events that we were attending prior to the event, so they could plan to attend and interact with us and provide feedback. The survey itself is this comment map that was open from October 21st to December 10th. And so we advertised this project website and the survey in the newspaper, social media, and then direct invitations to our stakeholders. Next slide, Spencer. So then this Winterfest event was our winter outreach, and we did this right before the survey closed and got some more comments right before that window ended there. But at this event, we had physical flyers, poster boards of the maps, project overview and timeline, and again, just diverting people back to that survey to provide more feedback. Yeah, and then this map here is it's the back end of the map that you saw on the project website. Our GS team is able to download this, and this is what we see and analyze. And so this is what the Excel sheet that's in your packet. Each one of those numbered comments has a locator ID. You'll be able to locate it on the map and see what the exact comment was. But just kind of a cool visualization here to show all the comments throughout the city. And then I wanted to highlight the comments that we received. Go to next slide, Spencer. This slide here, again, we had 8 comment categories. The top 3 comment categories were about pedestrian safety, reducing collisions, and then a general other category that folks were able to put whatever they felt that didn't fit in the other 7 categories. But I just wanted to highlight on 12th Avenue, people mentioned that it was just dangerous to cross. And they would like to see sidewalk improvements or widenings. And then in the reducing collisions category on South College Avenue, there's a lot of comments about erratic driving and speeding. And then a couple of comments about visual impairments, such as bushes and trees that they'd like to see removed. And then Southeast Larch had several comments about dangerous intersections and just generally a lot of traffic in the area. And then our other category, there was comments about parking, mainly lack of parking on South College Avenue, and some other comments about roadway extensions on 4th and Davis, and then general site distance issues. And then we'll go to the next slide, Spencer, for one more kind of overview here. The blue pie chart, I just wanted to highlight, these were the top streets that kept coming up in the comment categories. So the blue pie chart is about collisions here, and South College Avenue had the most comments about wanting to slow traffic down and control some of this erratic driving, and also more comments about lots of accidents happening along this road. And then the orangish red pie chart, the top comment was on Southwest 12th Street, and they wanted to see safer crossings and sidewalk repairs. And then the rest of the streets here on Davis, Mira, 4th, and College all shared very similar sentiments about wanting to see safer crossings for pedestrians and bikes. We'll go to the next slide here. And then I just have an ask for the UTAC today. We are looking to bring options to the community and verify with them that we heard them and that their goals are represented in the options that we select. So after this meeting, we are planning another public outreach. And I was wondering if you guys had any suggestions on things to do and engage with the community. I have spoken with Mary Elizabeth a little bit about events in town, but just wanted to pull on some of your networks and see if there's anything happening in the month of March. And you don't have to answer right now, but if you can think of anything, feel free to email Spencer and I, because I would love to get going on that just so that we can stay on project timeline there. But that wraps up the public involvement highlight. If you have any questions on public involvement, I can take those now, and then I'll hand it over to Spencer to get more in the weeds.
So let's ask if we have any questions. Commissioner Williams.
This looks great so far. Did you say it has to be in March for events? Because towards the end of February, we have our egg drop, which often brings in people from students from a lot of the elementary schools, etc.
Okay.
And there's a lot of waiting around. So
yeah, that's okay. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, I'll look more into that. I'll see if we can pull that timeline. But yeah, that would be good.
I can email you and the organizer of the egg drop so that you are connected.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Good suggestion. Anything else, Commissioner Williams?
Nope, that's all my good ideas.
Very good. Questions, Commissioner Gomez? I have any questions. Commissioner Riegel?
I don't have any questions.
Okay, nor do I. Thank you for this presentation. I think we will continue. Mr. Montgomery?
Cool, thank you. Appreciate the suggestion on the egg drop. We were looking for something that we might be able to piggyback on. It's always great to get a few extra people informed about what's going on. We had identified March, but if there's a late February opportunity, we'd love to work towards that. So that's perfect. So I'm going to take a little bit of time here. I know you guys got the packet and you saw a lot of what we have quite a few slides in what we presented for you here that we sent last Friday. But I'm going to take a few minutes and go through what we've learned about the accident data and just kind of update you on some projects that we've identified and talk about the process here a little bit. There are several ways of identifying projects related to safety. One is looking at the collision data itself, identifying trends in that data. Another is looking at the comments that we've received that Angela went over with you a bit. There's previously identified projects and strategies that have been in other documents the city has prepared. And so I wanted to show you a little bit about the data. You've seen this map before that shows basically that on a lot of the more major streets, College Avenue here, Larch here, 12th here, Whitman, there's collisions all around. But I will say this, that for the size of the community, I think that there's only a few accidents that we're really dealing with. The purpose is to eliminate fatal and serious injury collisions. So you can see from this map, this takes out all of the green dots here. The green dots are no injuries at all. The blue dots are possible injuries. The orange dots are serious injuries and this one fatality here. So in the last 5 years, there's only been 4 serious injuries. Each of those happens to have involved a pedestrian or a bicycle. So going to go over this a little bit. I'm going to go into the details on the highest ones, but these are the intersections within College Place, the functionally classified intersections, and which ones have the most accidents. And so you can see at the top, Meadowbrook Boulevard at Highway 125 has the most, Whitman Drive at Larch, C Street at Myra, Rose at Myra. And I'm sure that you guys all looked at these, and I'm going to go through these in a little bit more detail. And what I wanted to point out with this table, though, was that the serious injury also involved a pedestrian. These three serious, another pedestrian and a bicyclist. And one of the pedestrian accidents was not at an intersection. It was just on a roadway segment. So there's about 440 collisions in the city. 202 of them happen at the intersections of functionally classified roads. These are the most common first collision types. So these are the top intersections from the last table that you saw. So the Meadowbrook Boulevard at Highway 125 again at the top. What I wanted to point out here is the number. Excuse me. Actually, that's on the next one. It's interesting to see the cells of this table that have the highest numbers. So a lot of rear end accidents at Meadowbrook and 125, a lot of entering at an angle at Whitman and Larch. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. This next table is also intersections, the same intersections, the top ones that have more than 5 collisions. And what's interesting here, I think, is that nearly 20% of the collisions in College Place at these intersections are due to distractions or inattention. Another 25% of them, more than that, didn't grant the right of way. Maybe they didn't see somebody coming. You know, they pulled up to a stop sign and they tried to enter a street and they didn't realize that somebody was coming through. So to some extent, some of those might also be attributed to inattention or distractions. About 10%, 11% of the collisions are associated with speeding. And I thought that this was interesting too, that the police officer said that there was no contributing factor or no distraction on about 14% of those collisions. These are the road segments. It doesn't show here at the bottom, but there's 129 collisions that are happening on the functionally classified street network. So these are the streets that have the highest traffic volumes in the city. So one segment north of Highway 125 from Meadowbrook, in front of the Walmart there, has 16 collisions. That's in 5 years. So that might be the most, but 16 is 3 a year. I keep needing to remind myself that these may be the highest ones, but they aren't horrible. But we are looking for some trends in the data that we can use to help us identify some projects. So now I'm just going to walk through some of these and some of the projects that we have been able to identify. And I'll be honest, as I went through all the comments, looking at similar comments on particular segments, it was interesting. I went into Street View on Google and looked at the locations and things, and there's a couple of things that I guess I noticed that stood out to me, that in some places you'll notice that I've said improve pavement markings, and in other places maybe improve some signal things. So I'll point some of those out. Down on Highway 125 at Meadowbrook Boulevard, there's a lot of rear end collisions. And so we're thinking that some flashing beacons that tell people that the signal is going to turn red would help people to start slowing down in advance of the intersection so that they don't hit the person in front of them. Whitman Drive at Larch. This one here was kind of interesting, entering at an angle. And this is kind of the situation I described a minute ago. A couple of these were snow related, interestingly enough. southbound right turns, hitting a car waiting there at the stop sign. But I would bet that most of these are happening entering from Whitman Street from the stop sign, because it's Whitman Street that is stopped in this case. Converting that to an all-way stop, I think could reduce some of the collisions there. And on the uphill side of that intersection, maybe add some high friction surface treatment to help people to slow down when they realize that they're going too fast to turn. And a longer term analysis is install a roundabout there. And the reason why I say install a roundabout was there are guidelines for always stop control, and this intersection meets the criteria for that. And the delay would not be too much to add 2 additional stop signs there for north-south traffic on Larch Street. So in the longer term, though, at some point in the future, a roundabout would probably help there as well. C Street at Myra. A lot of same direction rear end traffic, but there's a signal there telling people that they should slow down and stop, right? And this is on a city street. They shouldn't be going 50 miles an hour. So I looked at the signals there, and there are some newer style signal heads that they put some reflective backing on around them. And so we think that might be one way just to call attention to that signal ahead for people. A couple of these same direction rear ends is the southbound right turns, where they may be thinking that the person in front of them made that right turn because there's an island there kind of channelizing that right turn for a really simple movement, and they might be taking it maybe a little bit quicker. So that's kind of an interesting one. I don't know that we would want to put a stop sign on that. They were trying to facilitate that movement earlier, but again, this is 15 collisions in 5 years. So a little bit of perspective there. Rose Street at Myra, this is where we say to update the signal heads again with the reflective back. 12th and Larch, there were 13 collisions here, a bunch of those entering at an angle. We think this is a good location to convert to an all-way stop. And this one also, the city's been pursuing a roundabout. So when they get funding for that roundabout, that would go a long ways towards helping traffic there. It's a pretty busy intersection, meets the criteria for installing a roundabout, but it may take a little bit longer to get some funding to do that. So, a couple of extra stop signs might reduce collisions there. At College Avenue and Lamperti, the city has a project there to install a wall on the southeast corner. That may not stop the collisions from happening, but it may minimize some of the injuries that could potentially occur there. And also, this may be a candidate for installing some high friction surface treatment to help people slow down when they realize I'm taking this curve a little too fast. 12th and Myra, this is an interesting one. Same direction rear ends. There's 10 collisions here in the last 5 years. 4 of them are opposite direction left turns. Basically, they probably have a permissive left turn is what we call it, as opposed to a green arrow. So that might be something. We couldn't think of anything, but as I visit with you here right now, maybe we change the signal phasing to just be protected left turns, so that people aren't allowed to make left turns in front of the opposing traffic. And then Myra Road at Highway 125. They're extending Myra Road to the south into Walla Walla. So this is a Walla Walla project. And so they'll be installing a roundabout there. That should help a lot with collisions, especially with those that may cause injuries, because the roundabouts are well known for reducing the severity of accidents as well. College Avenue at 4th. This is another one where updating the signal heads. There's just a lot of things going on College Avenue with the parking there. You'll notice on one of these here, I think there's a lot of collisions are with parked cars. Some of the parked cars may be causing some sight distance issues and making it more challenging for people to turn from the side street. The signal should be helping with that. So there were 8 collisions here at College and Fourth during the last 5 years. So now let's see here. Oh, excuse me. Yes, there were 8. So Lamperti and Larch, there were also 8, a lot of them entering at an angle. So this one here might be a candidate to convert that to always stop control. All right, now I'm going to walk through roadway segments, starting at the one that had the most. This one had 16 collisions on Meadowbrook between Highway 125 and Lamperti. Again, opposite direction, 1 left turns. This could be a candidate to change the signal phasing there at the Walmart entrance to only protected left turns. But a number of these are also happening between that signalized intersection and the highway. And so we thought of restricting movements there to right in, right out, south of the signal. That will change some traffic patterns a little bit, but there's people that are using a driveway on the east side, making a left turn there, and probably getting traffic that's coming from the highway north towards Walmart. And we think that's why some of these are happening. So there are projects moving forward. There's already one roundabout on the highway in Walla Walla. The city of Walla Walla is installing another one at Meyer Road. So this one here, as that corridor moves forward in the future, the State Department of Transportation may be interested in removing other signals and converting those to roundabouts as well on the highway. Myra Road from Whitman to 12th. There were a lot of comments on here about needing to cross the street for bicycles and pedestrians. So these collisions on that segment don't necessarily reflect that, but adding a rectangular rapid flashing beacon for pedestrian crossings could facilitate that. There was one bike and ped accident there, and animals, not that they would use the RRFB there, but just to be aware that there's animals going through there. There also is a development sponsored project to add a left turn lane, and that's going to go, I think, a long way. These same direction rear ends in the middle of a road segment that's not signalized, those are happening because people are stopping to turn left, northbound left onto Garrison. So adding that left turn lane there should reduce collisions here at this intersection as well. SR 125 from Meadowbrook to Commercial. This is another spot where we thought adding flashing beacons as advance warning of a signal that it's going to turn red. Those can be very helpful. There were 12 collisions on that road segment. The next segment to the east or actually to the west, from College to Meadowbrook, same kind of a situation. Just letting people know that the signal is getting ready to turn, I think will help people to slow down and be better prepared to stop from highway speeds. 12th Street from Larch to Myra. A lot of comments in the public involvement process that cars are growing really fast here. The accident data shows that there's about half of the collisions are entering at an angle from some of the businesses and things along there. They're all kind of close together, but we thought that slowing people down on the street could be done by, it's a really wide street. I think it's like 44 feet wide, and all it has is a center stripe. There probably maybe some parking allowed, but not much parking there. occurring. And so just narrowing the lanes by adding bicycle lanes with some paint could go a long ways to helping people slow down and just better recognize, people trying to enter the street from a parking lot on the side will have a better opportunity to judge the gaps from oncoming vehicles, as those vehicles are doing closer to the speed limit instead of too fast. Next, College Street from Whitman, from C Street to Whitman. A lot of collisions with parked cars. These are property damage only. I don't think anybody's getting hurt with them, but we thought it would be important to evaluate the parking along there. There were a few comments from our public involvement process that said that some of those parked cars, and there's some vegetation, things like that, that might be making it challenging for people that are entering an angle. I know that there's a real need for parking downtown, but the parked cars do make some challenges. I understand that the city is working on creating a parking lot as well off street, and that could help reduce some of these parked car collisions. College Avenue from 8th to 12th, again, more parked cars, some fixed objects. And we thought just evaluating the parking there again could help. And this one here is an interesting one. College from Whitman to 4th looks way different than those last two, doesn't it? The colors that are used in these on College are way different than this one. Now there's only 7 collisions here in the last 5 years. Same direction reared end. You've got fixed objects. You've got a bike and ped, opposite direction, one left turn. So as we look through the corridor there, it might just help to update pavement markings and just refresh on that so that people know where the safe place is to be. And then actually, I've got a couple more segments. We're getting into some of the lower numbered. So there's only 6 collisions here on Meyer Road from Rose to C Street. It might be possible to consider some left turn out restrictions. I think this is in the area near the mall. And maybe we can direct some of that mall traffic to safer intersections that are signalized, as opposed to trying to make a left turn out across heavy traffic. And then College Avenue from 4th to 8th, similar to what we've seen before, some parked cars, same direction rear end. One head on, maybe because the lanes are maybe a little bit narrow with the parking there, a couple of fixed objects. We thought just look at the parking again. And we need to remember here that we're doing really well in College Place. There's only been 4 severe injuries. And so even though we pointed out the ones that have the highest number of accidents, I wouldn't say that there are, serious problems with these. This segment here is an interesting one. Highway 125 from Commercial to Myra, 3 animals. So we thought maybe we install some animal crossing signs just to let people be a little bit more aware that those things are happening. I'm gonna check something here real quick. Okay. Next, I wanted to talk a bit about pedestrians. There's only been the 4 collisions in College Place that had bikes and peds that were involved. But if our goal and our objective with the safety action plans around the country is to meet the goals of Target Zero, then it would be important for us to try to reduce the risk to our pedestrians in College Place. So we want to look at locations where the street network doesn't have sidewalks, where the speeds are higher, where the traffic volumes are higher, and that kind of fits under here under the add some additional risk consideration to to the prioritization. So with pedestrian projects, that these are mostly going to be filling in the gaps for sidewalks. And also where there's ADA or the Americans with Disability Act gaps there where they don't have ramps. So you get somebody in a wheelchair that's crossed the street, but now they can't get up on the sidewalk because there's no pedestrian ramp there. So the city had prepared a couple of years ago an ADA transition plan that identified all of those things, where you could add push buttons at traffic signals to help pedestrians cross safely. So we think that that good work that the city did can be used to help prioritize projects, and the city has a lot of projects in the works with respect to doing sidewalks and other things like that. So the public involvement has helped us identify a few more as well. Let's see. We also want to pull in projects. You'll notice today that I've been talking about safety projects based upon the data and upon the comments that we've received. The city has a lot of other projects that are going on, and there's in the city's transportation improvement program, there's 33 street projects, 18 sidewalk projects, and other projects for resurfacing and chip seals. And we think some policy considerations with respect to those would be to look and see if we can help fill in the gaps of sidewalks nearby these other projects for continuity and so if there's for example, we know the city's pursuing a project doing the roundabout at 12th and Larch, and there's sidewalks on 3 sides of that intersection, the north and east and west, but on the south side, there's not a sidewalk on either side. And so maybe an appropriate extension of the sidewalk system would be to get a sidewalk at least on one side of the street, south of 12th, that would connect to other sidewalks in the area down there. So those will be important, and that would be among the policy considerations. As you know, JUB helps as the city engineer throughout town with a number of different projects. And recently we've examined the street standards and have recommended some changes with respect to street standards for helping out with complete streets and things like that. I talked with you before about some of the recommendations in the Blue Zones project and the study that was done, and have visited with the staff about those. And there's some great recommendations there. Some of them are kind of challenging to implement. And so they're going to be implemented over time. And we'll make some recommendations through this process of some that are, I'll call it the low-hanging fruit, things that are going to be a little bit easier to try to incorporate, and some of the other recommendations that are in the Blue Zones document. There's also the bike plan, the regional bike plan, that will pull some projects and make some recommendations. This is in an effort to identify barriers to travel for bicycles and pedestrians, and also in these risk considerations, those routes that might go along with the safe routes to school, as well as transit service, are going to be places where there's going to be more likely to have pedestrians in those areas. And so we would want to include those in the prioritization process. Also, from the census data, what neighborhoods have a lower percentage of car ownership. They might be more likely to need sidewalks and things like that to help facilitate their travel as well. All right. So we mentioned a little bit about our next steps in the timeline. We're going to take your comments and suggestions, questions here in just a minute. But after this, what we intend to do is to pretty all of this stuff up and find an organized way to present it to the public and get some additional feedback to make sure that we heard them, summarize what we heard and what projects have come out of that, summarize the data similar to what I've done with here, and identified projects. And so maybe the end of February, but certainly in March, we'll be out there trying to get some feedback on the process here, what we've done, the projects that we've identified. Have a draft document in April that this committee can or commission can review, and get comments from you in May at your regular meeting, and take it to council for their adoption in May is our intent. There should be a call for projects through the Safe Routes for All program that the USDOT has had, that we anticipate that call going out this spring. And with applications due for implementation funding, and this is the same program that this study is being funded by. So we're hoping to have you already with an adopted plan that would be eligible to apply for safety funds for implementation. So with that, I will take any questions or comments that you might have for us.
Commissioner Riggle.
I just had a question about the 12th and Larch intersection, because I don't think it's been a four-way stop for 5 years, has it?
I don't know the question or the answer to that question of how long it's been a four-way stop.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm in time warp sometimes. But it would be interesting to see what the accidents were before the four-way and then after, call it all stop.
Yeah, that might be a good case study if it's been a few years. We do have accident data that goes back a little further. So if it's been 5 years, maybe we look back prior to that and see if it had more accidents before.
Okay, Commissioner Gomes.
Good things. So I looked over that there's a map in the packet that includes the various types of concerns like pedestrian concerns and things like that. And I noticed that the pedestrian concerns were the highest, based on all the input. And also what I've noticed in the packet is that it seems to be that maybe it's related to school district or the university getting access to those areas. I think that's what I read in the packet. So my question is that, are there any, and maybe this is a question related to Mike, I don't know if Mike is here somewhere, but are there any cost sharing funding agreements between the school district and the university and the city of College Place that can help out with, helping out with some of those sidewalk gaps and what have you, or any other kind of safety concerns that the citizens may have?
Is that Andy?
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, some of what you said wasn't coming through really clear. I hope you guys have been able to hear me okay.
I'm gonna get closer to it because I'm talking like this. Okay, so I'll speak directly to the mic. Okay, so
Thank you. That's better.
Yep, perfect. So, and I'm gonna say exactly what I said. So when you did the public outreach, there was a map in the packet that showed the different types of safety concerns, whether it be, pedestrian safety or bike safety or what have you. And I noticed that the highest amount of concerns from the citizens in this community were pedestrian from that map. And so my question is, and one thing I've noticed as well, based on the packet, is that it seems to be that a lot of the pedestrian safety concerns may be related to the school district and the university, students getting access from their place of residence, maybe to the school and what have you. So my question then is there a cost sharing agreement between the school district and the university and with the city of College Place to potentially help fund some of those projects?
I guess I would say that's a question for the city. Is
Yeah.
Mike still there?
I was there one time.
He had to leave early, so he'll get this.
I'll talk to them tomorrow anyways.
It's a good question, and thank you for taking that up, with Mike. Yeah. Okay, Commissioner Williams, questions?
So I saw that there was a serious pedestrian at College and Fourth, and I think that's actually a bit of a mistake because about 2 years ago, our engineering secretary's daughter got hit by a car and was very seriously injured, but it wasn't at the intersection. It was down, about halfway down where there used to be a crosswalk and right in front of the engineering building. And a lot of people still cross there because it's a perfect crossing spot. But what happened was because of the parked cars, they couldn't see her and she didn't see them. And all along that part of Fourth Avenue from College, really all the way to Sixth, there are a lot of parking lot exits, and you can't see leaving those parking lots because of parked cars. I'm kind of surprised it didn't come up in the public comments because that's been, a huge issue. I know that the engineering department was planning to send a letter to the city. I'm not sure if it ever got sent or not, but the parking on the north side of Fourth Avenue between College and Sixth it either needs to be cut way back, several, couple hundred feet back from each parking lot exit, or my favorite is it needs to be gotten rid of altogether.
So you're saying, I'm going to share my screen here real quick and pull this map over. You said Fourth between College and Sixth.
Yes. So
But Fourth is parallel to Sixth. Do you mean College between Fourth and Sixth?
I'm sorry, I meant Davis.
Okay, so Fourth between
College,
College and Davis.
Fourth
Okay.
between College and Davis, yes.
Okay,
And you can see there's a parking lot exit just before the Alumni Center. There's a parking lot exit just before or just by the Kretschmar. There's a parking lot exit from the church. And, when I'm terrified every time it doesn't stop me from parking in this parking lot, but when I come out, I can't see. So I kind of try to listen and then hope.
Yeah.
And I even traded in my low car for a Jeep and I still can't see. So
Parking is a two-edged sword, isn't it? I mean, we have to drive our cars and get out of them and go to our destination, but having enough parking around and having it be safe is a challenge in many communities. Yeah.
And so
Is this is the street with the cycle track? Is that right?
yes, the cycle track is on the south. And
Down here.
yes, so right along. So see that brown right there? Crossing from there across the street, that's where she was hit.
Okay.
So it wasn't at College and Fourth.
Okay. It was west. Okay.
And where that sidewalk dead ended in front of that brown house that we were just looking at.
Back here?
Yeah, see where that sidewalk dead ended? There used to be a crosswalk there.
Right here?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And that got taken out. It was controversial. So the person who insisted on it being taken out is no longer with us, so I don't know if it's time to revisit that decision, but I definitely think the parking needs to be brought back further from the exits of the parking lot because you can see how close it is. And so if it was like another space back, that would give it a
Yeah.
lot better angle so that you can
Just
see.
pull this back away from
Right.
that driveway right there. Yeah.
Mhm. And
Well,
also from the one coming out of the alumni and the one coming out of the church.
okay. All right. And similar situations on that on College Avenue as well. Those kind of what we were identifying.
Yeah,
Somebody made a comment that this cycle track is great, but it just stops and it doesn't go anywhere. And
true.
they recommended that it should continue over across College Avenue, at least to A Street. And the comment said where there are bike lanes, but I don't know that I can find any bike lanes on the east side of College Avenue at Fourth. But
Yeah, Mike is your person for that because he bikes all over town.
okay.
Um,
Let me ask your perspective if I could. See, this here says left turn yields on green.
mhm.
But what I'm wondering is if we gave space and made this a left through and a right and took away the left turn lane, there would be space to bring that cycle track down here and even continue it over there. But what I would like to do is check how well the signal is operating to see if it would function all right and still give acceptable levels of service. From your perspective, from the whole commission here, what would you think of something like that?
Um, I I would need to look at traffic counts. I feel like at certain times of day you'd get quite a bit of backup because right between about 3 and 4 when the school's let out, you get quite a bit of backup already.
Okay.
So yeah. The problem is we don't really have the right of way to make it any wider.
Right. And that's, I mean, I understand the person's complaint essentially that the cycle track just ends.
Yeah,
But
excellent
you know,
point.
it just ends down there and it's like, well, yeah, but what are you going to do with it, right? So, and that's what made me think, well, if we could use that space differently, if it could still provide acceptable level of service here, then, that could be something the city could consider. But if it doesn't give acceptable level of service,
What I might suggest, if you could work out an easement with the university, is to have the cycle track go like behind the DX and cut across towards the post office. So
tell me what the DX is.
the DX is the Shell station there on the corner.
Oh, okay.
And there's between those two houses, the university owns all of that. Between those two houses, there's quite a bit of space. And I feel like you could, instead of going on up to the corner, put in a bike lane that went behind those houses and came out on College Avenue where there's at least a Sharrow line.
So it'd come out down here.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay.
You'd have to get an easement from the college, and you can almost see it. Those on College Avenue, when they put in the cars, they put in those Sharrows that are supposed to tell people bikes and cars should get along here. I'm not sure how much good they do, but they are there. I also wanted to reinforce I think it was Commissioner Riggle's point that we have put in several four-way stops and pedestrian crossing places in the last 5 years. And so it would be interesting to be able to like lay a dated map of those along with the collisions and see, you know, which of those collisions have we addressed so far.
Yeah, and sometimes it takes a little while for that to be reflected in the data.
Yeah. So those are my comments.
Good observations and questions, commissioners. Thank you for your interactions. Montgomery, I have one question pertaining to Myra Road. Given that, if I understand correctly, given that that is a City of College Place street, how much influence or control do we have about what takes place or recommendations we may wish to put forward concerning Myra?
Well, it would certainly have to be a coordinated effort with the city of Walla Walla. I will tell you though that there's some development going on in here, some infill housing development, that because of that, they are being required by the city of Walla Walla to install the northbound left turn here, and also to contribute a share to the signal that will go there when this property here develops as well. So that's kind of a hard one. This intersection here, there may be some, that was among the ones that I just spoke about, that's a little harder to identify from the data what's happening. And I guess I'll say this too, that we had some challenges working with the data because there's 450 collisions, which is not a ton to identify trends, especially when about a third of them are occurring because of distracted driving. We should probably find the right kind of verbiage in our recommendations to say some public education campaigns should also be part of reducing collisions in the city of College Place. The data doesn't tell us that it's cell phones, that people are, you know, making calls on their phones and things like that. It just says distracted. I think there's only one that said it was due to a cell phone. So, but as far as you know, the influence that the city of College Place has to improvements on Myra, at a minimum, they would have to be coordinated and approved by the city of Walla Walla with respect to, you know, it'd be their engineering department that would approve any construction plans and things like that.
Thank you. Okay, we move next to item 3.02, the on-call city engineer, Mr. Fazzari, has some updates for us.
Yes, thank you. Should I share my screen? Or can you pull the presentation up?
Either or, I got it right here.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and pull it up then? All right, thank you. First, I had a question about the egg drop. Is that where students package the egg and try and prepare it for the fall?
Yes, they drop it off the roof, and it's not just dropping it, it's also they're trying to hit a target that's a little ways out.
Okay.
But and the rules are tweaked a little bit every year, but they typically don't allow powered things. So, you know, maybe wings or still at a glide or something. And there are several elementary school teachers who bring their classes, and it's always a bit of a competition to see whether or not they can beat the engineering students.
That's awesome. Well, with the price of eggs right now, the consequences of failure have never been so high. So
Exactly. I was like, are we still going to have it this year?
Thank you. Okay, next slide, please. I'm just giving a few just really brief updates on some of the projects that JUB is working on for the city of College Place. A lot of these we've talked about last time, and so they're just brief updates on them. First one is a construction project going on at your wastewater treatment plant, where we're doing some minor upgrades. Apollo's the contractor working on that project. And construction has begun, and had a bit of a pause lately as they deal with some dewatering issues, but hope to pick construction back up here pretty soon. And the plan will be to have it constructed here by the end of the year. So ongoing work being built at the wastewater treatment plant. Next slide, please. And then phase 1B will be the next phase of improvements at the wastewater treatment plant. So these were improvements that were previously designed and then shelved, and now we're picking it back up off the shelf, dusting off the plans and getting it bid ready. So the plan will be to get this out to bid sometime later this year, and then it'll be constructed in 2026. Next slide, please. So the citywide sewer rehabilitation, this is where we were lining quite a bit of sewer pipe throughout the city. Construction began in July, wrapped up in November. Overall, we lined about 12,500 feet of pipe, added a few new manholes and a few sewer line extensions. So it was a very successful project. I think there's still a few minor things they have left to finish up here in the springtime, but overall, pretty much done. Construction did come on under budget by nearly $500,000, which is great. And so we'll be able to apply those funds towards the lift station number 5 project. Yeah, go ahead. Next slide. The lift station number 5 project construction started in June. We're about 80% complete on that project. If you remember, this is where there was a lift station in the sidewalk, sticking up out of the sidewalk, and we're abandoning that and building a new lift station on a piece of property that the city purchased. So the work that's left to be done is the actual startup of the lift station itself. There's a bit of a delay due to a back order of the controller. Then we have some landscaping and surfacing finishing, and then final paving will be done this spring. So this is one where we talked about before. There was some cost overruns due to the need to import some backfill and rebuild the roadway base, because once we got into the roadway with construction, we realized it needed to be rebuilt. So those how we came under budget on the sewer pipe lining will be useful here to help offset some of the overages associated with this one. And this one should be wrapped up in the spring. So there are 5 stormwater projects that we're working on for you right now. One is a decant facility. So that's a facility that will process all of the solids from the street sweeping and Vector trucks. We did the 90% design last year and then applied for ecology funding. And we just found out a few weeks ago that it was a successful application. So we got a $2 million grant to fund the construction of that decant facility. So that's pretty exciting. It takes a little bit of time to get the agreement in place with ecology. So it'll probably be later this year around fall time that we'll finally have that agreement in place, and we'll be able to bid the project, and then that should be constructed in 2026. The Southwest 10th Stormwater Project. This is one where we're going to be getting design of that project, and on Southwest 10th, it's from the dead end of College Avenue where Garrison Creek runs along the south side of the road, and there's roadway runoff running directly into the creek. So we'll be adding stormwater collection and treatment to Southwest 10th as part of that project. And outfall 29 is a pipe and storm outfall that actually runs under somebody's home. So we're going to fix that, and we're going to abandon what's there and put in a new one. We're beginning design on that, and we'll also actually build that project as well. And then the Public Works Yard, we got some funding to redo the stormwater conveyance and treatment at the Public Works Yard. We're beginning design, and we'll also construct that project as well. And then finally, Northwest Earl. This is one where we just recently applied for funding for design, and we found out that it was a successful application for this one as well, which is good news. So we'll be beginning the design of the Northwest Earl stormwater improvement projects. Next slide, please. 6th and Birch. So this involves some water and stormwater improvements on 6th Street, extending from Bay to Elm. And then on Birch between 4th and 6th, it's water, sewer, and storm improvements. So nice utility upgrade project for those couple blocks in the city. We had applied for ecology stormwater funding, but it was not a successful application, so we didn't get stormwater funding. But we do have it fully funded by the Public Works Trust Fund with a low interest loan. So we are going to be moving forward with bidding this project here this spring. And our hope is that we can get it all constructed by the end of the year this year. So you'll see a lot of construction going on in this area this year. Next slide, please. The reservoir number 4, this is a 1 million gallon elevated storage tank and quite a bit of 16-inch diameter transmission main. Our 90% design is completed. And now we're working on breaking this project into 3 different projects because of what's going on around it. So down below, I have that project split out. So project 1 will be installing the transmission main from Blueview to College along Majonier, and that's being broken out to be part of the Majonier Road reconstruction project. So the idea is we want the same contractor building that roadway improvement to be building this water line at the same time. So that would be project 1. Project 2 would be the remainder of the transmission main. So it would continue along Majonier, west of Blueview, and then up to the new reservoir or tank location. And then the third project would just be the reservoir itself. So we're working on splitting those out into 3 different bid packages right now, finishing up some of the permitting. This project is fully funded, so that's a good news. But the first implementation we'll see of this project will be this project 1 as part of the Majonier Road reconstruction project. Also, we're looking at modifying the alignment of part of the transmission main because the city is considering making Owens Road more of a north-south collector in the future. And so we're looking to make sure that the transmission main would follow that future Owens Road. Next slide, please. So this just shows a concept of a potential alignment for that north-south Owens Road. So this would run along the east edge of the wastewater treatment plant spray field and past the proposed new tank near the gun range there, and then through that proposed future development up through the Martin Airfield area, and then tie back in on Whitman Street there. So anyways, something that we're considering, and we just want to make sure that our transmission main will follow that future north-south alignment. Next slide, please. The safety action plan, Spencer and Angela just give a great update on that, so I won't spend too much time on this, but I think the punchline is the plan is to have it completed in May and eligible for funding so that some of the projects that they're working on identifying in the plan can be eligible for funding for implementation. And then the Martin Airfield study, this was a $100,000 planning study that we're working on. Right now, we're finalizing the lot layout for that potential development around the Martin Airfield area, looking at the infrastructure that's needed to serve that potential development, and then documenting it in a final report. So plan to have that wrapped up here sometime this spring. Next slide. So the last couple things we have to cover here are a few specific intersections that we've been asked to look at by city staff, I believe, based on perhaps some city council or public feedback. And I'll ask Spencer to chime in a little bit on this too, since we got him on the call. But one of them is Whitman Drive and Northeast Birch Avenue, where there were reportedly several near-miss incidents involving vehicles and pedestrians. And so they asked us to look at this intersection. Next slide, please. So this just gives a listing of some of the recommendations for improving pedestrian safety at uncontrolled intersections, just in general. 10 different things really to consider. Next slide, please. And so this slide is a summary of what we actually looked at. And the recommended alternative is what we show in bold there, the rectangular rapid flashing beacon. The cost to implement that at this intersection, we estimate to be about $200,000. So anything more to add to that, Spencer?
I would just mention here that of so these 10 here are the same 10 that were listed on the last slide, and they're just like Alex said, generic things to look at when you're looking at potential crossing improvements to help pedestrians. Some of them aren't appropriate for a street like Whitman. You don't want to put speed bumps and things like that on a street that's supposed to be a collector or arterial facility. Some of these things the intersection already has, like the high visibility crosswalks. Multi-way stop doesn't work here because the side street volumes are too low. And so there were two that we looked into with a lot more detail, and that was the curb extensions, which basically makes the crossing distance less for students. In this case, I think a lot of the close calls are probably have to do with the fact that it's so close to Davis Elementary. And so we looked at the curb extensions, and then also the one that we recommend is the rectangular rapid flashing beacons, because those can be basically on call. Whenever a pedestrian comes, it flashes lights at them, at the motor vehicles, so they know that somebody's there using the crosswalk. So that was our recommendation there, for that intersection.
Okay. And then next slide, please. And then the second intersection, Southwest 6th and Bade. Some reports of vehicles traveling too fast along 6th, and 3 collisions in the last 5 years in the vicinity of this intersection. Next slide, please. And so there were some options that we considered here, and I'll ask Spencer to elaborate on those a little bit, but essentially the recommendation is to change the intersection to a 4-way stop.
Yeah, there's several things that we looked at, and actually earlier last year we had looked at a longer corridor of Bade Street and gave city staff some recommendations as well in a memo, and some of them are lower cost, some of them are higher cost, and but we think that because of the speeds on Bade, there's already a couple of stop signs, I think, at the even numbered streets except for this one. And so well, maybe 2 of them. And we recommended that stop signs could help to just slow traffic in the corridor at a minimal cost, really, the installation of a couple of signs. 6 seems to have enough traffic that it would fall within the range of a 4-way stop being used there, especially with the accident history there. 3 accidents isn't a lot, but on streets like this, it probably starts climbing up and getting noticed. So that was the recommendation. There was a couple of additional stop signs.
Yeah, I think that's the last of my slides, and Mike had asked us to specifically talk about these 2 intersections, and so I believe he's looking for some feedback from the UTAC about our recommendation. So in your comments, if there's anything in particular to comment about there, I think Mike's interested in hearing that.
Okay. Let's see if we have some follow-up comments for Mr. Cesare and for our city manager, engineering firm. So Commissioner Williams? Follow-up comments?
Sorry, I was having trouble finding my mute button. So actually I have a few comments. One is on the stormwater on 10th Street. I used to live right on 10th Street there, and the stream used to flow pretty openly, and then somebody had the bright idea to cut down all the bushes along the stream, and it immediately grew full of grass and started having regular, almost flooding the apartments right there. And so, and it's really tight in terms of right of way, but if part of that project, I have thought a time or two that it might be best not to allow traffic to go through there and just have, offset cul-de-sacs. But if as part of the stormwater project, you can get some more shade on that section of the stream, it would really help with the flow.
Okay.
So that's one. On the Whitman and Bade, was it?
Whitman and Birch.
Birch, yeah. I actually think that's probably mostly college students. So I think the rapid, because there's a lot of college students live down there. So my approach is just to avoid all of those areas between about a quarter till and a quarter after, because that's when they're running to class. But I do think the rapid beacon is probably the best bet there. And just because I have you, and this made me think of it, and I haven't had a chance to send an email yet, several times at night, I've been going down College Avenue, and the pedestrian controlled lights, they'll start flashing yellow. And so I slow down and I'm looking all around. I don't see any people anywhere. And then they just turn off. They don't go to red. And so I don't know what's going on with that. That seems like, probably something's short circuit somewhere or something. And then apparently I moved too much because I used to live within a block of 6th and Bade. And we saw so many near misses there. And it was, once again, it was partly the cars parked close enough that when people on Bade were starting to go, they just would pull out because they couldn't see that well, and people on 6th were going too fast. And so there were so many near misses. So I think a 4-way stop there would be absolutely a really good idea.
Okay,
So
thank
that's
you.
my feedback.
Thank you. Commissioner Gomez.
Yeah, I just have a question. So with the airfield study, is this commission gonna have an opportunity to review it in draft form before it goes to the city council?
That's a good question. And I'm not sure that it's going to city council either. So I'll need to check with Mike on that and get back to you guys on that. I'm not sure exactly what the plan is for finishing that up. I'll find out.
Okay, thank you. Good question. We'll look forward to your follow-up. Commissioner Wiggle.
I have no questions, thank you.
Okay. And I don't have questions either. Is there more to your report, Mr. Filari, or we're ready to move forward?
Nope, that's all I had.
Thank you very much for an excellent report. And I think that concludes our agenda. Is there a motion that we conclude the meeting?
So moved, Commissioner Williams.
It is moved and seconded. If there's no objection, the meeting will now conclude at 4:52 p.m. Thank you, each one.
Thanks, bye.
Thanks.
Oh, I didn't put it on the agenda. Did I know that? Oh,
Do we want to, while we're here, just?
There's nothing.
Did they tell you?
3 or 4 projects on.
Welcome that. I'm sorry. Okay. Nothing time sensitive. We'll look forward to that. Thanks.
sorry, Mike.
Oh, that's fine.
Recording has stopped.
Now,